Hi, everybody. Welcome to the MetaStellar YouTube channel. Today we're doing a countdown of the top 10 free science fiction and fantasy books on Amazon. And today's top free science fiction book has an interstellar search for a missing ship.
Wait a minute, we've got 9 more books before we can get to that one.
Oh, I forgot. Yes, we do the countdown now. All right, so we are starting with book number 10 and working our way back up to book number 1. Because here at MetaStellar, every single Friday, we read each of the top 10 books on the list. Well, not the whole book, just the first couple chapters, just enough to tell you guys what we think about it. And today, CARLA, one of our editors, we were joined by community members Mary Stoll and Sydney Levinson. And CARLA, thank you for making it to today's taping.
Of course.
This is your
So for
first
those
time,
of you,
right?
yes, my first time on, so happy to be here.
It's so nice not to be alone. Last couple of
It's always good to have friends, right?
it was just me talking to myself. I hate that.
So for those of you who are new to our channel, MetaStellar is an online magazine of speculative fiction. And all of our content is always free for our readers. We publish everything from original short stories, reprints, excerpts, essays, lots and lots of books of reviews.
And we're able to keep everything free thanks to the great generosity of our Patreon contributors. And the link to our Patreon is in the description box below. And thanks to our contributors, we are able to publish original fiction. And right now, we have an open submission period for the original fiction where you get paid 8 cents a word for your stories. And the best of those stories go into our anthology, like this Best of Year One anthology that is currently up on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other booksellers. So check it out. Now, let's get to the books. And so I read the first one, book number 10 on today's free science fiction and fantasy top seller list on Amazon. And the book is called Sagas of Sin by Derrick Van Vliet. And this is the only book the author has up on Amazon. Here we go. Now you can see it in big picture view. The subtitle seems to indicate that it's the first in the series, and I went to the author's website, and it does look like more books are scheduled. So it is the author's debut novel, and it kind of reads like it. There were a lot of adverbs in there, and I have a deep-seated hatred of adverbs. CARLA, you probably sympathize with that, being a book editor.
I do.
And I had a really hard time getting through it, which is a shame because it's a great story. So super cinematic. In the first chapter, a high elf finds the dead bodies of his parents and strikes a deal with an evil being in order to avenge them. And it turns out that this evil being wasn't completely honest with him, and things go really sour. And then we switch to the point of view of many years later. Sin, an elf warrior, is half elf, half human. He's just become an adult, and the elves are going to kick him out to go live with the humans because I guess they're racist. So a lot of tension there, and then there's that evil guy still hanging around somewhere. So it's a great beginning, very strong. And
talk about an inciting incident.
Yes, but all those adverbs. But if you don't have my OCD related adverb issues, you might enjoy this book very much. And it's a brand new author, so you might be discovering somebody great on their first book. So that's always cool. Next, we have a box set, Fate of Wizardoms by Jeffrey Kohanek. And it's the first of 3 books in the 6-book Fate of the Wizardoms epic fantasy series. I previously reviewed this set in July of 2021, and I loved it. It's about this teenage thief, Roa, who dresses up as a noblewoman and sneaks into a party in order to steal a super magical object from the head of the Wizard Guild. And at the same time, there's another thief in there, and he's dressed as a female servant, and he's on his way to rob the same room. Hijinks ensue. They almost get caught. There's a tense escape. Oh, it's a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I read this book. I finished it. It was a fun read, and I highly recommend it if you like sort of kind of light caper kind of epic fantasy in a traditional fantasy setting. Next, we have Earth Alone by Daniel Arenson, the first of 15 books in the Earthrise space opera series, and the entire series is in Kindle Unlimited. So Kindle Unlimited, for those of you who don't know, is you pay $10 a month and you read all the books you want. It's like Netflix for books. And if you have a Kindle device or the Kindle app on your phone or tablet or computer, you get to read all the books you want. A lot of books are in Kindle Unlimited. In fact, last time I checked, the majority of the sci-fi bestsellers were in Kindle Unlimited, including all the Harry Potter books. So if you read more than 2 or 3 books a month, this is a great deal. And for something like this, where the series is 15 books that are up to $5 each, and
Huge deal.
The kind of person who binges books, having it being Kindle Unlimited is fantastic. So the story is that the aliens have arrived, and they've destroyed most of the planet before humanity was able to regroup and fight them back. And the war is still ongoing, and the aliens look like giant centipedes. And our main character is Marco, 18. He lost his mother in the war, and now he's drafted. Everybody, men and women, has to serve 5 years in the Earth Defense Forces when they turn 18, and he's going off to war. It reminds me a bit of Robert Heinlein's Starship Troopers, except the aliens are centipedes instead of bugs. I liked it, and I enjoyed it, and I might stick with it because it's exactly my kind of thing.
Nice.
Next, we have a book that you read, Carla.
Yes.
And so here's the book cover in big view. And Carla, so tell us about it.
Yeah, so this is the Norse Protector. It's the first in a quartet called the Vikings of Highgard. It's romantic fantasy, which is usually like an instant buy for me. It's right up my alley. So it opens with a prologue that covers like centuries of basically Norse mythology, intrigue, and history, starting with Solveig, who leaves Odin to create Highgard, her own kingdom. Tiring of immortality, they turn themselves mortal, and so the Highgardians are now mortal but still magical. And then even further on in the prologue, a plague hits. So first it hits the men, wipes out almost the whole male population, then the women. And so with that kind of setup out of the way, we open with the first chapter, and the entire Highgard population is reduced to 4 sisters that are direct descendants of Solveig, and the 4th is dying. So there's a lot of back and forth between the other 3 sisters. As the sister dies, she kind of recoups and gives her last speech to her sisters. And then she does pass, and the oldest gets ready to fight. Kind of literally in the last paragraph, these monsters start encircling their fortress, and she gets ready to go fight the soul eaters that are trying to come get her take her sister's body. So I liked it. I love Norse historical fiction, fantasy, romance. It's a lot of things that are right in my reading list that I love to read. For me, it started a little bit slow. So we know from the blurb that it's going to be our main character, uh, Torin, in the human realm, presumably trying to find a cure, probably irking off Odin in some way, and also falling in love because it's a romance. And me personally, I just want to get right to that. Let's get right into the thick of it. But it is really good, and I am planning to probably go back tonight and read a few more chapters. So
All right. Okay, let's switch to the next book on the list, which is the Alamogordo Connection by Don Johnston.
say
And
that 3 times
Alamogordo,
fast.
yeah, Alamogordo is a town in New Mexico. And it's
Mm.
near the Trinity Site Monument where the first atomic bomb test took place. And the book starts in 2045, exactly 100 years after the first atomic bomb was tested. And a meteor crashes down on that site in the first chapter. And then moves really, really slowly. So I'm 5 chapters in and nothing's happened yet. We meet Derrick, who's one of the main characters, who works as a security guard and is a college student studying astronomy. We meet Carly, also 22, moving to New Mexico for graduate school to study parapsychology. She's convinced that astronauts develop psychic abilities when they're up in space. And so we switch back and forth between them. Eventually, Carly's tire blows out, and Derrick stops to help her and changes her tire for her, and that's how they meet. And then we hear their backstories again as they tell each other their stories. So it's a slow-paced beginning, and it's a little too slow for me. But if you like a more slower, more thoughtful read, you might enjoy it. It's the only book it's a standalone book. It's not part of a series. But the author has done similar books before. It's hard science fiction. It's got some political satire in it. And the characters are interesting, but like I said, it just moves a little bit too slowly for me.
Really interesting premise too.
Yes, so we
That's
keep
even
getting
kind of outside of my genre, and that at least has me kind of hooked.
Next, we have Project Destiny by Justin Sloan, the first of 3 books in the Biotech Wars military sci-fi series, which is one of my favorite genres. The other books are $1 to $5 each, and the entire series is in Kindle Unlimited. And the author has been on this list before. Last month, we reviewed Shadow Core, which is part of the Shadow Core military sci-fi series. And then last year, we reviewed Starforged, which is the beginning of yet another sci-fi series, Ascension Gate. So the guy's a freaking flyer on here. And I like this book. It started right in with the action. Also, the names are a little odd. So the main character is a former Marine. His name is Stealth, or I guess that's his nickname. And he's now working for a private outfit on a space station, and he's going to he and his partner are going in to try to track down a group of illegal hackers. And he kind of has a sense that things are going to go wrong and something's not right, and things do go wrong. And I'm not going to tell you what happens so as not to, blow the surprise. And then we switch to the point of view of one of the hackers. And they're celebrating their success and planning their next attack against the evil corporation that's running the station. But Alice, who's the lead hacker, is also getting the feeling that something's wrong, and maybe they've been set up or something else is going on. So I love the setting. It feels very lived in and realistic. There's a little bit of backstory about the politics and corporate greed and blah, blah, blah. Oh, and how Mars is being terraformed. There's not too much backstory, and I'm enjoying the book so far, and I love military science fiction, so I'm definitely gonna stick with it.
Nice.
So next we have The Hound of Hell by Rory Nelson. And I read the first few chapters, and I gotta be honest, I don't know what the book's about. So,
Oh, funny.
so I don't even know what genre it is. Is it a Western? Is it historical fantasy set in England? Is it paranormal? I mean, I don't know. The main character is Renault, and he's got magical abilities. He can read people's minds. He's also super clever. He keeps a lockpick in his braided hair. And so he's captured, and he uses the lockpick to free himself and then kills all his captors in really gory ways. We're talking like Kill Bill kind of level of gore, which is fun. I love that. And then we switch points of view to Dalliance, who's burned so clothes, changed into new nondescript ones, so he can pass for a ranch hand or someone's henchman, and goes to a saloon where he meets up with Renault, and Renault pays him for having assassinated somebody. And there's like prostitutes there hanging out in the saloon who are mostly undressed, and there's a little bit of the camera gaze lingering on the bodies of the prostitutes in a creepy kind of way. All the characters are creepy. So, and then we switch point of view again to Merlin, who's also in disguise, also in a saloon, also meeting up with Renault to talk about some kind of plans that they've got. They're plotting against something, and I have no idea what they're plotting about because I'm like super confused. But Merlin has received a premonition, and now Renault has to go off on a different track and rescue somebody. Despite the fact that I'm confused, don't know what's going on, and don't know what genre it is, I'm loving the book, and I'm probably going to stick with it.
I will say the cover looks cool, and that sounds like a space western Arthurian legend, maybe.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
it's a mix, a hodgepodge of genres, but it's fun. And the characters are all like seem to be anti-heroes with tragic pasts.
Dark and
And
broody. Yep.
I gotta say, I was enjoying it. And it's my kind of book. I love the senseless violence. That is my wheelhouse.
If you like Kill Bill, read this book.
Don't give me any of that mushy stuff. And speaking of mushy stuff, I believe you read the next book on this list.
We're back to my genres. Yes. So this is Purrfectly Mated. It's the first of 6 books in the Maverick Pride Tales by C.D. Gorri. She's a very, very prolific paranormal romance author. So if you like paranormal romance, check her out. She's got, I think this is one of 2 or 3 other major series that she has going. But yeah, so it opens with 2 prologues, which I wasn't personally a huge fan of. So first we meet Uzi, who's an elderly man who's also a witch, and his magical talents lie in kind of being able to sense good romantic partnerships. So he runs a magical matchmaking service. And the first 2 prologues essentially really focus on him missing his wife and getting sort of a little magic tingle that a new match is about to be made. And he opens an email from a shifter. So I'm assuming we kind of have some shape shifting going on. Instead of wolves, I'm thinking tigers, obviously from the cover. And that is from Hunter Maverick. And he gets a tingle that he's about to go find his mate, since he's one of his clients for his matchmaking services. And Uzi takes off in a car, presumably for New Jersey. And then we completely cut in the first chapter to a completely different character. And we meet Alyssa, who is on a truly horrific blind date with an absolutely terrible man who's sexist and rude and handsy, and he took her on a date to 2 hours from her hometown, from Hoboken, New Jersey. So she's like stuck with him and she doesn't know how she's going to get it right back home. And he keeps trying to drag her up to her hotel room, and she's like, no way in hell. So it's this just absolutely agonizing chapter, seeing this horrible date through her head. And then it finally ends with her, they're literally walking out to his car, and she's thinking, how the hell am I going to get out of here? Which also kind of gave me a little nervous, creepy vibes for her. So personally, I wasn't a huge fan of the book. It's a little bit, it's a faded mates romance trope, which is really common and really popular. It's not usually what I go for personally as a reader. But it looks like it's really popular, and it looks like it's just a really fun, cozy, steamy romance read if you're looking for something fun over the weekend.
All right, then we have
Right.
book number 2 on today's bestseller list, which
Yes.
Mary Stoll read, who's also one of our editors.
Yes. So Night Chosen. This is another first book in a quartet. This is good news if people like these books. There's lots of series. In the Shackled Verities epic fantasy series. And so the first chapter opens to Ulfric Endenhus, who's an ancient immortal who commands the Night Corporealis. And he's visited by his daughter, called Crumb, which I find adorable. I always like a good name. And so she is fighting to be a knight like her mother and father. And he seems a little conflicted about her wanting to take that path, though. And so in the next chapter, we meet another main character. So her name is Milia Evernal. She's a novice knight with only 300 years of service, just a baby. And she's thinking about her lover, Haverlock, and is kind of pondering him as she's prepping for security, supposedly. And so Mary notices that it's very descriptive, and she really, really loved the writing, which is always, as an editor, a good sign for me. I would probably pick it up just with that recommendation from Mary. And she said that she's really invested in what happens next. So it seems like it has really kind of deep, well-formed characters already from the start. It's kind of nice.
All right, and now we get to the top book on today's list, which Sydney Levinson read, another one of our community members.
Yeah, and so this is the first of 8 books. It's called Galactic Thunder in the Iron Hammer military sci-fi series. And I kind of have to agree with Sydney. She originally said just from the cover, she was a little hesitant, little outside her genre, super, a little worried it was going to be kind of too masculine, and she loved it. So it is essentially our main character, Danny, is searching for her ex's son on an intergalactic mission to find this lost ship out in space. Sounds like there's lots of drama between her and her ex. And she's accompanied by a parawolf, which none of us know what it is, but we're all very, very intrigued. And so it sounds like it really has a good balance of kind of action and character development. And sounds like Sydney and probably me, maybe you, Maria, are all kind of on to read this book now.
Well, I do like Intergalactic Adventures, and I love the cover. I actually like the fact that it looked like a military sci-fi kind of thing. And
yeah, it's kind of a retro sci-fi cover. I do kind of like that.
All right, and that was it. That was the last book on today's list.
Yeah, so if you like this kind of content, if you want to keep seeing the top 10 every week, please support our channel by hitting the like and subscribe button.
And you can also support us on Patreon. I want to thank Mary Stoll, Alexander KOROLOV, Avery Parks, James Cato, Terrence Smith, and everybody else who it makes our publication possible. We love you guys. And again, don't forget we have an anthology out. Links in the description box below. Oh, and submit a story if you're a writer. We're accepting submissions, and the submission window closes on October 31st, and it won't open again until next March. And Carla and I are both reading some of the submissions, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've already had like nearly 200, right?
Yes, I think so. And I have to say I'm loving the ones that I've viewed so far. There's some fantastic writing that's coming in.
Yeah, I was really amazed. There's some really good writers out there writing good stories. So if you want to,
yes, you have till October 31st. Get it in.
All right. Well, thank you, Carla, for joining me, and thank you everybody for watching. If you don't want to miss any of these shows, so that you get the free books every Friday, so that you have your free weekend reading, hit the subscribe, hit the bell to get notified, and all those things. Bye, everybody. See you next Friday.
Bye.